What's up? This is Anthony from Everything Practical. Today I'm going to be doing a setup and review video of this ergonomic monitor stand by Ergotron. Now this is also very similar to a stand by Amazon, so if you're between these two monitor stands, keep in mind these are very similar, if not the exact same in a partnership, but I'll talk about that later. As always, we'll get right on into it. Now first things first, let's look at what comes in the box. What I really like about this Ergotron model is that everything you need to set up this monitor comes in the box. You have the base, you have two arms, you have mounting screws, and then you have the Allen wrenches that you need if you want to do any adjustment to the stand itself. Now the Allen wrenches that come with this, in case you don't have them, are 4mm Allen wrench, which is also a 5/32 Allen wrench, and there's also a 2.5mm Allen wrench, which is a 3/16. The screws are M4 screws. Both the ones that I have are 10mm long, which is about a 1/4 inch long, and some are with knobs and some are just normal Phillips head screws. There's also one M3 6mm screw that comes in here, but I'm not exactly sure what that's for. Through this video, I'll be calling these a 4 and a 6 because if you're going by the number system of Allen wrenches, these don't match up to the millimeters, and these are 4 and the 6. First, we're going to take the base. And before I go any further, I do want to mention that you need to check your table to make sure that this base will fit underneath the table snugly. I ran into the problem that I have a support bar underneath my table, and it didn't allow for this base to go underneath the table far enough. So I wasn't able to screw this in securely. Now what I had to do, and I'll show you real quick, is I had to cut my table in order to make this stand fit. So if you have this problem and you're thinking about cutting your table, it can work. Not quite recommended because you lose the rigidity of your table. But if you do decide to cut it, you'll need about 4 inches or 9 centimeters for the width of this piece that has to slide between or underneath your table. And then you need about 3 inches or about 8 centimeters for the depth so that this doesn't bump into anything and not allow you to secure this under the table correctly. Now that that's out of the way, if you have the space for this, then let's get into the setup. Now first thing you're going to want to do is to check the thickness of your table to be sure that this secure piece can fit the thickness of your table. Now if your table is too thick or too thin, you can adjust the secondary bracket with an Allen wrench. You need an Allen wrench that's a size 4mm if you have a millimeter set, or if you have inches, it is 5/32. So if you need to adjust that, there's 3 different levels of adjustment that you can choose. It comes in the box on the second one, but if you need to adjust it, you can adjust to the 1st to 3rd position. Now one of the first things you might want to do is to decide where you want the center line of your monitor on your desk. So once you figure out the monitor placement on your desk, you can lay out the 2 arms that you have to find that center point of the monitor. So I have decided that I want my monitor center, somewhere around here. So I've already put in the base, but I'm going to show you how to do that in a second. Now I'm laying out the arm so you can see where the base needs to go. I know the center line of my monitor will be here, but you want to start with the center line and then lay out the arms and then find where you want to put the base. Now also to mention, if you have a smaller desk but you still want to stand like this, you can still just use one single arm. So it only will turn on one axis and then it's not so long. If you have both arms, then it can be a little long and you might need a bigger desk. Of course, also if you have a smaller desk, these also, when they're together, they can sit on top of each other like this. So you don't need the full space. And if you want to eventually stretch it out, stretch it out so to protrude out from the desk, then you can also do that. And then it'll fold up nicely like this on your desk. I'm going to show the installation for both arms, but if you decide you only need one of the arms, the installation is very similar. You just put the one single arm on top of the base. Let's get into how to attach the base to your desk and a couple considerations you should pay attention to when putting this onto your desk. So now I'm down here on the floor with the base, and you can see just behind me, you can see where I had to cut my table in order to get this stand to fit. When you put this on your table, you're gonna slide this up and then turn the bottom wheel until it's very secure on the table. Now underneath the stand, you have 4 rubber feet that keep the stand from damaging your table or from sliding around once it is secure. So I'm gonna go ahead and attach this to my table and then we'll move to the next step. And one thing I did notice quickly that I wanted to say is there's that little oval shaped foot on the bottom that goes on the underside of the table. Make sure that that is parallel with the side of the table. Let me show you how I have it. So I think you can see here that it's almost parallel. Mine's a little bit at an angle because it was hitting the side of my desk. But make sure that this is long ways or parallel to the table this way and not going in this direction. Now that we have the base on, you want to take the arm that has this little plastic piece at the bottom. This is for keeping your cables hidden once you install your monitor. So then the next step is to attach this to the base. And it's very simple. All you do is slide it right on top of the base. Now one piece you'll have to play with is this little ring piece. You can adjust the height of this so that your arm will either go higher or lower. You can do that with a little Allen wrench that they gave you in the box. Now that the first arm is in, I suggest to tighten this little screw on the side with your 4mm Allen wrench that came in the box, or like I said again, if you don't have one, it's number 4, 5/32, and just give it a little hand tightness so this isn't moving around when you do the installation. Otherwise, when we put that second arm on, this might be swinging around, or when you bump it, it's going to be moving around. So I suggest giving it just a little hand tightness so it stays in place. Then we're going to take this second arm and we're going to go ahead and attach the monitor to it. Now the mounting bracket that comes with this is your standard 100 by 100 or 80 by 80. You can use either one. If you have this type of mount that came with your monitor, it'll fit this. Now the mount on your monitor should have threaded holes that you can screw in this back mount to the back of the monitor that you have. Now what 80 by 80 is, or 100 by 100, it's just the distance between the two holes on the back of your mount. So from center to center, it's 100 millimeters from across the top and 100 millimeters up and down. And it's same for the 80. 80 in this direction, 80 in this direction. Now the screws that I'm going to be using to mount this to the stand are the screws that came in the box. They're the ones with a little knob on top, and they're threaded, which my monitor has threaded holes and yours needs to as well if you want to use these screws. Before you mount the stand, just give a little check that these do fit in the back of your monitor to make sure that they do indeed fit. So like I said, I am going to first check that these do fit in the back of the mount, and you can see, and they do. They do fit, they can screw in, and it stays. Now the next thing you want to do is to get the mounting arm and to mount it to your monitor. Make sure that the plastic piece on the bottom is facing downwards. I also see that there's writing on the back of this. You want to make sure that that's legible when it's facing up. So if it's facing to the side or down, just give it a little rotate so that the label is on the top part when you are installing this. So now you want to take your screws and you want to go ahead and screw this into the back of the mount. I like to screw them in partially until I have all 4 of them in, just in case there are any alignment issues. So you can see I have 2 screws in and I can still wiggle it around a little bit. And that's exactly what you want, just so you can make sure that you have everything centered up. Once you have all 4 in, you can start tightening all of them in. I would recommend getting it centered as you prefer. I'm a slight perfectionist, so I like to line it up just right and then screw it in just about hand tight. You don't need any extra tools or wrenches to get this in. You can just do this hand tight and that's no problem. Now that these are screwed in, we want to pick up the stand and put it on the other arm. Now what we're aiming to do is to put this part of the stand into the one that's already on the table. And if you decided only to use one arm, then of course from this step you just put this one on top of the base. So I'm just going to flip this around and put it on the stand. So now that I have this on the stand, I'm going to slowly let this go and I'm going to show you that this is already falling down. Now this Allen wrench should have come in your package, and if it didn't, then you need a size number 6 or a 3/16 Allen wrench to tighten the screw. Now let's go find the screw that you need to tighten so that your screen doesn't fall down. So this screw is located on the second arm that connects to the monitor. And if you lift it up, you have the screw, it's just here in the top. And you want to take that Allen wrench that you have and you want to turn it clockwise until you have enough tension to keep your monitor up. This could take 10 turns, it could take 30 turns. Just tighten it and then let it go to see if it doesn't fall. Now once you do have it, that it's not falling, just give it a little move to make sure it doesn't fall at any position that you have. So if I just touch it, it almost falls down. I need to keep going. Now one thing I did notice when I was doing this before, it made it easier if I went ahead and tightened the two small little screws that are on the arms so that this doesn't wave around when you're trying to do this step. So I'm going to keep tightening and tightening and tightening and checking to make sure it doesn't move. So this is now perfect. I can move the monitor up, I can move it down, and it stays there. I like to give it a couple extra twists. I don't want it too tight to where it's difficult to move, but I do want it tight enough to where I'm comfortable with it staying there to any position that I set it. Now that this is all set up, the last couple tips I can give you is to adjust these tiny little screws that are in both of the arms to where they don't swing if you don't want it to swing. Now if you want both arms to swing, don't tighten these screws because you otherwise won't be able to swing this very easily. So if you want this to swing the full 360, don't tighten the screws. But say if you only want one of the arms to pivot, say if you want this one to pivot, then to leave the screw that's on this side loose and to tighten this screw on the other arm. And vice versa. If you don't want this arm to swing and only this one to pivot, then tighten this screw and leave this one loose. Now next up, if you're using both arms, is a little cable management that's integrated into the stand. The top arm has a couple hooks that you can attach zip ties to. So when you attach your cables, you can run your cables down and then zip tie them to these hooks. There's two of them on the stand. Then you can also run them through the bottom part of the stand. Now I'm going to attach all of my cables to my monitor and then show you how to connect them using this cable management system that comes with this stand. Now I have about 4 cables that are coming out of my monitor, and the zip ties that came in the box are about 8 inches long, which is about 20 centimeters, and they're very thin. So if you need to buy extras, now you have the size. So to attach these to the monitor stand, you see these hooks down here at the bottom. There's one here and one up here at the top. What you want to do is just grab all of your cables all together and put the zip tie around the cables all together. So now that the zip tie's on, you want to leave a little bit of space so that you can hook this onto these hooks. So here's just one hooked onto the hook. And then once it's hooked, you want to tighten it enough. Now it looks like you need to put the cables above this first screw if you use the one with a knob on it before you tighten it all up. Now don't do it too tight because you might want to adjust the cables a little bit later. And if they're too tight, then you're not going to be able to pull them and move them around. Same goes for the second cable. Put the zip tie in loosely so that you're able to still hook it on this hook. Now that we have it on the hook, tighten it to where it's not too tight. The cables can still move a little bit, and then we're good. Now if all of your cables are going to go to the base and down below the base, then you can take all of the cables and put them into this second cable management system. Now this second one can be a little tricky to take on and put off, so let me show you this up close. To take it off, you just squeeze these two little tabs together and pop it out. So to put all these in now, you take all of your cables together and pull so you have a little bit of slack in them. This will help a lot. And then with the two hands, you want to hold these down at the bottom of the base. Take this bottom part and put it up into the base and slide it all the way to the back first. And then you take this top part, make sure all of the cables are in, and then slide it up, give these tabs a little press, and then slide it in like so. And if you need to pull these taut or anything, I recommend leaving them a little loose because if you're moving it around, this arm needs a little bit of wiggle room. If you need to pull them any tighter, you can do so. And then you have your cable management system finished. Now that I have the stand set up, you can see that it sits very nicely and there's plenty of space around the desk. So it really opens it up without having the stand of the monitor on the desk. Now this stand is really neat because it swivels in all directions, up, down, it can go in a full 360, and also you can also tilt your monitor in different directions. So if you don't think that your monitor is also straight with the stand, this is also something that you can use to straighten up the monitor. So to quickly wrap up this review, let's go over the positives that I like about this stand. One is the build quality. It is excellent build quality, made out of a very nice steel, and you really feel the quality of the stand when you have it in hand. You don't have the feeling that it's going to fall over or bend on you, even when you're close to the max capacity of the stand. There are a couple plastic components, but these are also very nice components of the stand, and they don't feel cheap or like they're going to break on you at any time. The only negative that I have for this stand is that I had to chop up my desk to make it fit my desk. So again, if you have a desk that has any support rails that are very close to the front or lip of the desk, you want to be very mindful that you might have to do some modifications on your own to get this stand to fit. So my final thoughts on this ergonomic monitor stand is, if you're thinking about it, get it. If it fits your table, definitely get it. I really like that I now have the flexibility to move my monitor in any which way I need to. As you can see now, even doing these reviews, I can use it as a background for the logo of Everything Practical and move the screen to face the camera properly. Otherwise, it would look like this. And just for a simple demonstration of this video, you can already see the flexibility that you now could have with this monitor stand. Now I'll put all the details of the stand in the description below, so also if you would like to purchase it, you will find that information in the description below. This stand comes in a few colors. It comes in black and white, and in some places it also comes in a gray color. Now there's also a stand that Amazon makes. I think it's the Amazon Basic Ergonomic Stand. I'll also put this information in the description. I don't remember off the top of my head. But I think it's actually a partnership with Ergotron, because I've compared both of the models and they look exactly the same. They have all the same specifications. So whichever one I think you could find cheaper is definitely the one you should buy. Now I think this goes without saying that I think this stand is very practical. I really enjoy working with it. It really helps my workflow because I can move the screen up, down, left, right whenever I need to. I think it's worth every penny that I bought it for, and I definitely would buy it again. And again, I really recommend getting this stand. Now this stand can be found anywhere between 100 and 150 bucks, depending on where you are, if there are any sales going on, and which version you go for. Now there are a few different models of this stand for different size screens, different weights of screens. So be sure you do check that out when you're looking to which stand you want to pick out for your monitor. All the specifications for this particular stand that fits my Samsung monitor, that's a 34-inch monitor, will be linked in the description below. I'll also add a couple other links in the description below in case you want to check out different models of this stand for different size monitors. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions. If you enjoyed this video or got any use out of this video, be sure to hit the like button. Also, leave me some feedback in the comment section below if indeed this did help you. If you like the style of this video and want to see more videos like this one and other reviews on other products that are coming, be sure you subscribe to the channel. If you would like to receive notifications when I do post new videos, be sure you click the bell icon to receive those notifications. As always, stay practical, and I'll see you in the next one.